as much as I love Linux and have no plans to stop daily driving it, I wouldn't be the first person to say that certain aspects are a little bit culty, especially for those where their entire personality is based around them using Linux. But have you ever thought, maybe I could use this idea to exploit it for personal gain? Well, you wouldn't be the first person to have that idea. Over the past couple of days, a set of posts from r/AskHR have been circulating. Employee claims she can't use Microsoft Windows for religious reasons. Is she a member of the Church of Emacs? Is she trolling? Is this some legitimate case where it actually does make sense? Let's have a read on and find out. Now, two big disclaimers. Disclaimer number one, I don't care about your religion. If you try to turn my comment section into a debate about it, I just don't want to see it. I might delete it. I don't know. Second big disclaimer, there is literally zero evidence that this person is real, that this event ever actually happened. But for the sake of the video and for the sake of the entertainment, we are going to assume that this did happen and is 100% real. So let's get started. I recently hired a new employee for my team. Everyone thinks she is a great addition, and she is clearly very talented as demonstrated in her interviews. It's really unclear what her position actually is, but let's just assume she is the best employee they have ever had. The problem came up during onboarding, when we supplied her with her company laptop. She said she would need it configured in a Linux-based operating system because her religion does not allow use of Apple or Microsoft-owned operating systems. We only currently have hardware configurations for macOS and Windows, and our expectation was that she will use Windows along with the rest of our team. I'm just going to assume the author of this post is not a Linux user themselves, but the hardware of the laptop with the Windows laptop probably isn't going to be an issue. In most cases, you can wipe out Windows, install Linux, and everything works exactly like it should. Now, there might be issues if you're using certain webcams, certain weird esoteric hardware, certain printers, but the laptop itself is very unlikely to be the issue. She says that she can fulfill all job duties without Windows, and I'm inclined to believe her. But corporate policy dictates Windows, and my management is not on board with her request for Linux. I've never come across any situation like this, and am completely confounded as to how I should handle this. Now, whilst Linux might be free to download and install, I can understand why the management wouldn't be exactly happy with this request. This is one of those times where those videos on YouTube that are like, Linux is only free if you don't value your time, actually do hold a bit of weight here. But in reality, that's not just a downside against Linux. That is a mark against every single operating system. Let's say, for example, you have a business that is entirely based around Windows, and you have a new employee come in that says, okay, I want to use macOS. Now, ignoring the cost of the device itself, this is going to have a cost to the business. If you have a business that's entirely macOS, for example, and one person says, I want to use Linux, the exact same is true. Yes, at a core basic level, all of these operating systems have the same general functionality. We have word processing and spreadsheets. LibreOffice is mostly great for day-to-day usage, but in many cases, it might not be a one-to-one replacement for Microsoft Office. Many of the more advanced features in Microsoft Office won't work exactly the same way in LibreOffice, leading you to have some sort of mangled up documents. Now, most of the time you can, deal with it, but if you make a document in LibreOffice and then send it to someone in Microsoft Office, and it now doesn't look like the way it should, this is not a good way to handle documents in a business. And you also can't forget the heavy use of macros, which work a bit differently between the two software suites, but are absolutely fundamental to a lot of the automation tasks in a business context. But that's just generic stuff that pretty much anybody would need to worry about. As it's unclear exactly what her job entails, it's hard to mention any specific software she might be using, but it's almost certain the company is going to have some sort of software packages that are being used. And let's say they want to go and upgrade to a newer version. They want to buy a new piece of software. They want to go and change some business practices to make use of some new application that is going to, revolutionize what they're doing, completely change everything up. Well, now they need to consider this one Linux user when they go and buy it. And if a business wants to do that, go ahead and do so. That would be awesome. In fact, I encourage you to do so. It would make it so much easier for Linux users to keep using what they're comfortable with working in your business. But by adding all of these little things that need to be worried about, all of these different software changes, all of these different back-end things that need to be dealt with, these are going to add upkeep costs onto your IT department. And in many cases, the IT department already has a lot of work they should be doing anyway that is being neglected. Adding extra work onto that, isn't exactly going to help that work go too well. Plus, this has the potential to spiral into a much, much bigger problem. For me, this would depend on how burdensome this will be on IT. It will be far more than a one-time setting up Linux on a computer type thing, and also the extent of OP's refusal to use anything other than Linux. As her faith grows, is she going to be unwilling to accept documents that were created on a different computer, on a computer running Windows or macOS? Unwilling to email with people or use communication like Slack? You've backed yourself into a corner here. I don't really care about the management here, but I do kind of feel bad for the IT team having to accommodate the demands of one random person who wants to use Linux. And considering modern churn rates, I wouldn't be surprised if she's gone from the company in like a year or two, moving on to somewhere different. Just for the sake of Linux, if possible, I would like them to accommodate this person, but it's kind of their choice to decide whether they want to try and do so, or risk the person, filing some sort of lawsuit against them. Because whilst this might all sound completely ridiculous, and you want to throw the entire story in the bin, assuming this is happening in the United States, there might actually be some validity to making that claim. In the US, there's something known as Title VII. This prohibits employment discrimination based on religion. Now, you might think there is some, predefined list on what is an accepted religion and what counts as a religious practice and all that fun stuff. But no, it's actually, really up for interpretation. Title VII defines religion very broadly. It includes traditional organized religions such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. It also includes religious beliefs that are new, uncommon, not part of a formal church or sect, or only held by a small number of people. Some practices are religious for one person, but not religious for another person, such as not working on Saturday or Sunday. One person may not work on Saturday for religious reasons, another person may not work on Saturday for family reasons. Under Title VII, a practice is religious if the employee's reason for the practice is religious. So basically, it's religious if the person says it's religious. Social, political, or economic philosophies or personal preferences are not religious beliefs under Title VII. But you can frame it in a way that makes it seem like it is. So even though the free software movement is probably a social, political, possibly economic, depending on how you want to look at it, and definitely a personal preference, you could possibly frame it as a religion, even if nobody else out there considers it as such. Now, that doesn't give you free reign to, get a full-time salary and work one day a week. But with weird edge cases like this, where it sounds like it might be kinda reasonable, this is something that would need to be followed up in court and followed up with HR, and you'd need to actually, chase this one down to see if they would actually accommodate it. And the author ended this thread replying to a comment saying, "Understandable. Thanks. I will give her an ultimatum tomorrow. As much as I like her, I don't have a problem losing her for this because she should have made it clear in her interviews / before taking the job. Now, of course she's not going to do that because she's not going to get the job. You would never make something that absolutely outrageous clear before you're actually hired, where then it becomes a little bit harder for them to get rid of you. Now, in many places, they still could fire you on the spot, but it at least requires a bit of paperwork rather than telling you to just go away. But this is not the end of the story. There is also a follow-up post, and the author changed his mind about the ultimatum. Update. After many meetings yesterday with management, HR, legal, and IT, we decided to give her a shot. IT is working to come up with a configuration for her that we will also make available to other employees who want to use it. I really feel bad for this IT team that just got thrown this extra work. It's like, go ahead, do it guys, we know you can do it, no extra budget, just get it done. HR and legal felt that although she is able to request accommodations for a sincerely held religious belief, this would have been an undue hardship to the company and it would be okay for us to deny her request. But ultimately, we decided that she can fulfill job requirements without Windows. That's pretty much it. Thank you for all the helpful advice, Reddit. I cannot be the only person who thinks that HR and legal didn't want to deal with this blowing up as like a giant story and didn't want to deal with the drama. So they're like, you know what? It's fine if we deal with this, it's fine if we don't, let's just make this go away and do something else. I am not encouraging you to do this, I am not encouraging you to do anything, but if you don't mind making yourself basically unhireable in certain industries, and you happen to be working in the USA and other countries that have really strong religious protections, maybe you could see how it goes. Maybe you could see what would happen if you go to, like, I don't know, a dev studio that's all based around Windows, and you say, I can do this job on Linux. See what'll happen, and try to make the claim there is some sort of religious reason why that has to be the case. But don't come back to me when you're stuck working at McDonald's. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that she has any reasonable claim to be saying that she has to use Linux because of religious reasons? Maybe you think she does. Maybe you're a member of the Church of Emacs as well. I would love to know. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you like this video, I'm going to go and like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, Scribe, Sally Berapay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and install Linux.